Welcome to the Excel Purpose Show with Counselor.
Today we have Dr. Monisha Bhonote. She is an expert on longevity and gut health. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Carms, for having me. Look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, look, health is so important. It's totally number one. And like most of us don't prioritize that until it's like urgent. So yeah, I really like the opportunity to do that. Most of my friends are like corporate workers. A lot of my friends are like professional workers, right? And yeah, we tend to prioritize work over our health. And as we are aging, leveling up, shall we say, leveling up, getting into where we're going, longevity is totally, what people start to think about. So yeah, tell me, how did you get into honing in and your interest in this aspect?
In this space, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about your colleagues and your audience and the people who are really listening to this interview, and I'm hoping by the end of the interview that they kind of reconsider one of the aspects of like their purpose in the sense of like using what I call the new longevity equation, right? So if we can take our body, specifically our cells, and you'll hear me talking about cells quite a bit, and that's because of my background and expertise. But if we can take our cells and at the same time kind of calm our nervous system between the two of them, it's really about like aligning with your purpose to rewire your body from that cellular level for success. So most people think of it from this mindset perspective, but I want to introduce people to how your cells influence not just longevity, but your career and how you thrive through your career. So your question was, how did I get here? Well,
Yeah.
it's been a very long path.
And cells perspective sounds very intriguing. So yeah.
Yeah, so from the cell perspective, so I am a formally trained medical doctor in the US. I actually have five specialties. I think I'm the only one that I know of that has five specialties. And three of those specialties I've been doing for a couple decades, where I'm literally looking at people's cells, human cells under the microscope. And these people are alive. You know, they might go in because they had like a thyroid nodule, or maybe they went in because there was something on their mammogram or something like that, you know, and these things don't appear in the body overnight. They are actually a buildup of a process of what's going on. And so my expertise is I've been looking at these cells under the microscope, and you know, I usually will pull up this little like cell model here to like when I'm discussing it, and I'll be like, well, we have trillions of these in the human body. No, they are not this big. This is just for fun. But we need a microscope to look at that. But what I'm looking at is the different changes that happen in these cells to create disease. And, you know, if I told you the million, like close to a million different diseases, from inflammatory diseases to cancers that I've diagnosed, I always find that the cell has a story, and that's that story of that person's lifetime. I mean, I can literally see what has been going on to like kind of make this happen. And then I'll go back and check the chart. I'm like, oh yeah, that's there, that's there. And like kind of just double check. But it is kind of interesting to me because, like you said in the beginning, we don't really pay attention to our health until we start feeling it.
Wait, but
And
what do you
that's
mean
kind of,
by seeing it in the cell though? What will you see? Give me an example.
oh, you want to know what I see in the cells? Oh
Yeah,
my
like
gosh.
like
Okay.
what do you see? Like how can you tell someone's history? Like what would you see to actually give you that indication?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. So, for example, if this was a cell from, let's say, I think this is a common example. I'll give you this example. From your gastroesophageal junction, that's the area between the esophagus and the stomach, so where your food passes through.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a normal healthy cell, it would look like one particular type of cell. It would look like a squamous cell, as we call them.
Okay.
If that cell has had lots of years of, say, eating processed fried food, eating a lot of fast food, having a lot of alcohol, having a lot of coffee on an empty stomach, having spicy food, well, guess what? Those cells go and they say, "Hey, we can't live here anymore. Like we cannot survive this like environment that this human has created for us because there's all this acid and all this stuff kind of in a way refluxing back up." So
Mhm.
those cells actually change what they are in
What,
order to survive.
like what actually happens? Like what alters? Does it just look it
Yeah,
just looks
so the
different?
cell in
Like
itself
there's a certain
alters there,
pattern.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we have something called a squamous cell there, and below that, like it's kind of like a junction, right? Here's your esophagus, here's your stomach. At that junction, gastroesophageal junction, you have the gastric cells on the gastric side, the esophageal cells on that side. When the acid keeps going back up because, say you're eating heavy meals late at night and you're going to bed and you've got these
Mhm.
symptoms of reflux, well, the squamous cells decide that they can't survive there, so they change into something we call goblet cells. It sounds all fancy and stuff, but it's just like a name for one of our types of cells, right? Now, over time, those goblet cells say, "Hey, we can't live here anymore either. This person just hasn't gotten it, and they keep doing this to us."
Yeah.
Yes, they're taking the medication, but still the acid is coming back up. So what they do is they say, "You know what? We're gonna put up new defenses," and they become something what we call dysplasia, and that's precancerous.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then if the body doesn't listen and it continues going down that path, it eventually becomes cancer. And then that's when you get something called an adenocarcinoma and it becomes a cancer that then will forever change your life, right? Because now we have to remove this cancer and stuff. But
Yeah.
my point in giving you this example is that there are so many people who experience reflux on a regular basis and they might pop I don't know what the pill is called in your country, but like, maybe pop a Tums or some acid blocking thing. We have proton pump inhibitors here and thinking that their body is getting fixed, but
Mhm.
the process will continue unless you remove the offender.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So that's
Um,
I mean, that's just one example of cells because I think people can go, "Oh yeah, I've had that feeling of reflux and I've experienced that. I didn't know there was actually something going on deeper in the cellular level."
yeah. No, that's a good sign, right? So if anyone's having like that reflux, they should really consider the root cause of that. Like that's not something I personally really have. I think the only time I've really felt like that heartburn is that like I used to be a meat eater, right? Like I like a lot. So I could eat like steak, um, like blood dripping out, barely any vegetables, and like I'm like that's a great meal. And then my friends will be like, "Where's the vegetable?" I'm like, "Oh, we needed those on the table, right?" So I used to eat a lot of meat, and then I did this whole meditation thing for like a durational time. It's like a very intensive thing for like 10 days. And you can only eat vegetarian meals. Like they only serve
Vipassana,
vegetarian. Yeah,
yeah.
vipassana. You have no option,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I was dreading this thing because I was that person that's like, I don't make friends with salad, I don't eat vegetarian meal, it all tastes really bad, blah, blah. And I went into this thing and I'm like, yo, vegetarian meals are delicious. It actually tastes really good. Just depends who's prepping it, right? But just at that time, there wasn't a lot of good vegetarian options. So I guess I've always had a bad experience consuming them because it was like never actually tasty. But yeah, after that, I actually changed my mind and I changed my diet drastically, probably because of some thinking that they told us in terms of like, thou shall not kill type stuff, right? Like even
Energetics, absolutely.
animal, like even the insects, like if we see a
Mhm.
mosquito, like don't kill, don't hit them, don't just leave them. So because of all of that, I remember the day after I came home, I was like, I'm gonna eat a whole plate of like this, like just salad and stuff, right? And I think my body probably thought I was gonna consume a lot of meat because it was like such a big plate. And as soon as I finished eating that, I was like, I got kind of sick. I was just like getting this like huge heartburn. But it was probably not, yeah, I don't remember the exact timing, but I remember, oh, I think my body thinks I just consume a lot of meat and it needed like a whole heap of acid to digest it. But it was just all like salad.
Well, so this is interesting. So let me bring in another aspect to this conversation. And I know we haven't gone over my background, but maybe that will come up as we're kind of discussing this. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when you were at the Vipassana or meditation retreats, usually it's a lot of cooked food, Ayurvedic food. And yes, it's like plant-based
Yeah, it's
and
like
really kind
beans
of easy.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's generally easily digestible. It's not much raw food, like raw
Hmm.
salads or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's potentially that you came home and you're like, I'm going to eat this big raw salad, and your body's like, oh, I don't have the ability to break this down. And it's not your body. It's, let me introduce you to your new best friends in your gut. You actually have more microbiome or microbiota organisms inside your gut than you do human cells.
Hmm.
So, and if you were consuming meat for years, there's a certain population that would grow based off of eating a meat heavy diet.
Hmm.
Then, as somebody who's eating a plant-based diet versus somebody who's eating
Yeah.
like a mixture diet. So, you know, the microbiome can change that way. In fact,
Mm.
each meal changes the microbiome. Like it'll change like the next day and the next day. So when people are like, "Oh, well, I can't change what I eat," it's like it's all cumulative, right?
Right.
So, and what we have seen from a medical perspective is that certain diets, and those are the meat heavy diets or the either meat heavy, processed food heavy, sugar heavy, alcohol, change the microbiome into an inflammatory state. And
Mm.
this is kind of this inflammation that maybe people don't really feel until their 40s because like their cell reservoirs have like not totally depleted, but then kind of when they hit the 40s, they're like, gosh, I can't do what I was doing in my 20s, but I want to.
Mm.
And so but all of the amazing part of this is once you kind of understand it, it can all be fixed. And that kind of brings me back to like the purpose part of it, right? Is
Yeah.
that when we are mentally like not aligned with what we're doing on a daily basis, um, we should also be looking at how are we physically aligned with it too, right? Because in order to be like the most successful for whatever we want, we have to really look at all these different things, the mind, body, the spirit, and kind of put it together and go, all right, purpose isn't just something that you're feeling, it's really something that you're living and you're aligned, and your cells literally respond when you're living in total alignment and total purpose.
Okay. Okay. I want to go deeper on that, but I don't want to lose my line of thoughts on something you had earlier. So remember that. We'll come back for the purpose.
You remember that.
um, you mentioned like when you're drinking like coffee on an empty stomach or like spicy food, that
Yeah.
has an impact. I like some people may be less sensitive than that kind of stuff. But I've always been very sensitive. Like in the morning, if I didn't eat, like it's so common when you go to a cafe, right? For breakfast. It's like the
Yeah.
first thing they ask you, it's like, okay, well, yeah, what can I get you? Like you're expecting to order a coffee, basically. And I always think that is the worst thing. Like, why would I want to drink coffee on an empty stomach? Like, it actually makes me sick. So I tend to ask, can I have the coffee when my food comes out? That screws up the order a little bit. Like, they don't like that because they have certain ways of doing it, right? Um, but yeah, like, what's actually bad about this? Because I just don't do it because my body actually cannot handle it. Like, I would have a stomach upset by doing that.
Yeah. It's pretty common that it's not the best thing, and it's probably the thing that almost most people do is first
Yeah,
thing in the morning, it's like on
drink coffee.
autopilot. They wake up, they go push the coffee maker, and the coffee's
Yeah.
running. And if you think about it from this perspective, technically would have been sleeping for, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a night before. So now you have not had anything in your body at that time. So now the stomach acids aren't doing what they need to do. And all of a sudden, you put in your body as the first thing this like cup of acidic coffee, and it just puts more fuel to the fire. In fact, what it does is it influences um, your stress hormones, specifically your cortisol hormone. So I don't know if you know that cortisol is not all bad. It's when people think of their stress hormone and stuff, and they're like, oh, that's so bad. But
Yeah.
your body really needs this hormone in order to wake up. Okay. So naturally the body produces melatonin. Our sleep hormone rises like say like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening and keeps rising to help us sleep. Now cortisol, it rises first thing in the morning to help us get up. The problem is our society lives in an elevated cortisol state all day long because the body is constantly stressed out.
Mm.
And
Like
when we
delivering
had,
deadlines, running around.
oh
Like,
yeah, so
yeah,
much,
that's it.
right?
Yeah.
There's like just mentally all the pinging we get in the meetings, and
Yeah.
it's like it's nonstop, honestly.
Yeah.
And so now you drink this cup of coffee thinking, oh, I'm gonna get my caffeine jolt and I'm gonna be able to do my work and I'm gonna be
Yeah.
on. But what happens is it suppresses the body's natural level of cortisol. So instead of getting the pattern, and there's a pattern we look at like from a like I do blood tests on people and I look at their 24-hour levels of cortisols and seeing where it's spiking and where it's not, and we can usually relate it back. But it usually has a certain peak in the morning and then it goes down and then it comes back up, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Actually, it goes up, then comes down. But with that coffee blunts that effect. So it actually disrupts your sleep later on. It disrupts your cortisol levels later on. And many people don't realize that those two factors also then affect your other hormones in your body, whether they're your female and male hormones, your thyroid hormones, basically the whole functioning of the body. Right. So what I usually recommend to people, because some people really just love their coffee for the taste of it. Like I do like a
I think it's
good
nice
like
too. Yeah.
a cup of coffee for the taste of it is first thing in the morning, just have warm water. Like don't
Mm.
put it on an empty stomach, and then yeah, I would say you could do your coffee next, but on an empty stomach, also from this like Ayurvedic perspective, which Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old whole body health system. Which I also incorporate into my practice, it's just not optimal. So I recommend, depending on the individual, warm lemon water, or herbal tea, something like that, because keep in mind that 6 to 8 hours, your body has been in rest and repair mode, and now you're just shocking it
Yeah.
in a way.
Why warm water? Because in the Western culture, I drink room temperature water mostly. But people like to drink ice water.
Another great question. I love these questions. Yes, we have this, at least where I am. You tell me if that's the case in Australia too, but in the
Yeah.
States,
Yeah.
we love our big glasses of ice water all day long.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we do
And,
too. Yeah.
and we'll even have it like at our meals, right? You go to a restaurant and they'll put these big glasses of water in front of you with ice in it. The reason I don't recommend and ice water is once again from this Ayurvedic perspective. Um, Not everyone, actually, probably I would say 95% of the world has really poor digestion. And digestion, your gut is really the root of, I can connect it to any illness basically, like
Hmm.
because the gut has so much healing power, but it also, if the gut is not healthy, it can affect everything. So when we drink ice water, it puts out our digestive fire. We call it Agni, but it's our digestive fire. So then that way you don't digest your food properly either. So whether you are eating healthy food or you're eating bad food, you're not going to digest it.
Mm.
So room temperature water is always the way to go. I always drink room temperature water. You'll see that room temperature water sitting here. I don't even have ice in my ice maker. Like I just don't.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's more from a kind of helping the stomach acids balance and all that stuff, but it does put out that fire. Sometimes I know like in like the summer when it's really hot and you're playing sports and stuff and you just want like a cool drink and
Yeah,
whatnot. But technically then you wouldn't be eating at the same time either. So that can sometimes be a little bit different. But
that's
when you're
true.
sitting down to have a meal,
Yeah.
then it's not going to be optimal for your digestion. And I would love to find like I have people come to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, my gut's fine and I eat really well." And we sit down and we go over their food diary and then I'm like, "Okay, if you still think so, let's see how your gut test comes back." And then we go over their gut tests and all this stuff lights up and I'm like, I just wait. I patiently wait to like share it with them because tests don't lie. You know,
Data
you can,
will, yes, to
yeah,
show
data
the
doesn't
truth.
lie that way.
Okay, so when should we drink our coffee if we were to drink it during the day?
Yeah, I would say closer to probably 10 a.m. So it depends now what time you wake up. So if you're waking up at like 6 or 7, then a couple hours later, 9 or 10 a.m. But
Okay.
once again, not on an empty stomach.
Yeah, so after you've eaten breakfast, when you
Yeah.
actually, your body naturally lost that productive hit in the morning. And
Oh,
then
I
when,
don't know. I'm so productive in the morning.
yeah,
So
so
I think that's
after that, so when it actually
yeah.
dips, then do it rather than autopilot. Oh, okay, I need a hit of coffee in the morning
Yes.
before I work, type thing. Okay.
And also, something to keep in mind, everybody metabolizes caffeine differently. Like
Hmm.
some people's body can break down caffeine in like 3, 4 hours. Some people take up to like 10 hours or longer. Like I know I can't have any caffeine like after 1 or 2 because I will be up in the middle of the night because my body's just
Oh, okay.
like yeah,
Right.
so that's another thing is everybody's a different metabolizer and that's where, I really recommend to people to start paying attention to how your body works. Like we got to get off of autopilot and go, all right, can I connect this to this and this to this and just start becoming more self-aware of what's going on in the body. I mean that's a big part of the premise of my book is how can we be more intentional and self-aware with what we're doing in our 24 hours of our day so we can prevent disease and we can live a long, healthy life. Um, because I will tell you, one of the hardest things is getting a diagnosis and getting into a hospital because that is so much harder, I promise you, than prevention. And so much more
Yeah.
costly, also. It's also very costly.
Yeah, it's hitting you in all front.
Yeah, I mean, it's costly from an emotional perspective, it's costly from a financial perspective, it's costly from a relationship perspective. That's where I'm all about prevention as much as we get.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so what do you think people should generally eat cook their own meals rather and avoid outside food, or what's your thoughts on that?
So, I understand people's lives are busy,
Yeah.
so that might not be optimal, but I have seen the healthiest microbiomes and healthiest people generally eat about, I would say 80 to 90% of their meals at home.
Yeah, okay.
And um, what I recommend to people is because, I've been through this with so many clients that
Yeah.
people don't want to miss out on that social interaction and that
Yeah.
going out and all that that's fun and everything.
Hmm.
And but that doesn't mean you can't go prepared. Like I know like if I'm going out and I have the name of the restaurant we're going to, I will check the menu way in advance. If it's like a work event or something like that, I will usually even call because I go to like a lot of hospital galas and dinners and stuff like that. It's always the same thing. It's like fish and steak, and I'm plant-based.
Okay.
So, and no, I'm not going to say nobody, but most venues have not figured out what plant-based means. So they will give you like a baked potato and like broccoli, and I'm like, okay. Well, where's the rest of the food? I don't know if you realized when we were together a couple weeks ago in Miami, I was traveling with my own like tofu and quinoa because there was stuff I couldn't eat, and I'm like, well, where's my protein? Nobody's serving me tofu all week. Nobody's giving me quinoa. So
No, this is great. Can we talk about that? Because I'm unaware too. So like I'll be like, what's wrong with the potatoes and broccoli? You know what I mean? So why
it's
the
not a
tofu
balanced meal,
quinoa?
right?
Yeah, but I guess I don't really know what balance means when it comes to the vegetable thing. Because like balance to me, it's kind of just like some protein, whether that's like in my head. This is probably the norm, right? And you're just like rolling your eyes, probably. But
No,
this is
no,
why
no,
we do
no.
the
I mean, I
education,
love talking about this.
right? Yeah, so in my head, protein to me would be like some kind of meat, whether that's red meat, white meat, right? And then it's kind of there. And then like I'm just thinking this to balance is like some kind of vegetable. So hopefully I see some color in there, like whether that's like tomato or broccoli or something. Like to me, that's balance. But like correct me, what is balance? And if we were considering moving to plant-based, what does a plant-based balanced meal look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's start with what are some of the longevity diets, right? The
Okay,
diets
yeah, go
where
from that angle. Yes,
let's
longevity.
start from there. So, the diets where the people are living the longest, um, least amount of disease, and like not just living longer, but still like on the move. Like they're not sitting in a nursing home like we
Mhm.
do here in the US, like they're actually still doing activities and all that kind of stuff. So generally, those diets have been studied by the Blue Zones, and they are in a number of different countries. I was just in one of the Blue Zones in Sardinia recently, this past October, and I was kind of like blown away at what they were eating because I'm like, this is a longevity diet. And then I went to like the villages because there's a difference of what they're eating in like hotels versus like
Mhm.
the real people in the
Yeah,
blue zones are eating, right?
right.
Um, and then there's some other areas like in Japan, in Costa Rica. There's one in the US, specifically Loma Linda. So there's these places around the world that have the highest number of centenarians. Um, they all honestly eat different diets. So it's not like
Mm.
one specific diet, but
Mhm.
what they are eating is real food. Okay. So not
Not processed food,
store-bought,
not
prepackaged,
sausages.
frozen meals with chemicals in it that we don't even know what they're doing. Like it's basically like food from the ground, right?
Hmm.
Um, in Loma Linda, the individuals there are known as 7-day Adventists, and they're mostly vegetarian. So not only do they move their body every day, they're also longtime vegetarians. It's just part of their culture. Um, so when I'm working with my clients and we go from what's a standard American or maybe it's even standard Australian, like when we're dealing with processed food, and fast food and just easy access to restaurants and Uber Eats and all this stuff, and we're going to a Mediterranean diet, we're basically cleaning up all the chemical processed store-bought, like not fresh food.
Hmm.
Now, even in the Mediterranean diet or the anti-inflammatory diet, a majority of that is fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, high quality fats. You'll have some fish in there, low mercury fish. You'll have tofu in there, and then you'll have like green tea, that kind of stuff. The meat, dairy, eggs, so like meat, whether it's chicken, turkey, dairy, whether that's cheese, yogurt, eggs, and then other lean meats, that kind of goes into 1 to 2 times a week. Most
Okay.
people are eating it one, two, three times a day, depending on
Mm.
their serving size, possibly more. So a minimum, I would say 21 times a week.
Yeah. Mm.
And that's not even the plant-based diet. I haven't even told you the plant-based diet.
Okay.
That is just the Mediterranean kind of anti-inflammatory diet to prevent disease.
Hmm.
Right. And then there's modifications to that. Like if you have high blood pressure, we add the DASH diet in, or if you have like family history or you're feeling like possibly that you're going to be exposed to Alzheimer's and develop that over some time, so a more mind focused diet. And those
Mm.
can all be layered on that. But I haven't been plant-based my whole life. I turned plant-based vegan in 2014. And that was after diagnosing hundreds of thousands of cancers and literally holding, somebody's colon who obviously was alive, but they removed part of their colon, or
Yeah.
holding somebody's mastectomy specimen, or holding, all these specimens in my hand and going,
Mm.
wow, there's something more to this. Because yeah, you take it out, but the people don't get better. They might develop another disease a couple of years later. So what's really
Right.
going on in the process?
Yeah.
And that's where I, really took a deep dive into pathology as the etiology and the disease process of all these diseases, but what's causing them. And that's when I went and further studied into integrative medicine and culinary medicine. How do we use food as medicine? How do we use lifestyle and supplements and all this different stuff? Because our current solutions of get a diagnosis, take a medication does not prevent progression of disease.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what are we eating for longevity?
I would say if you can make about 90% of your diet whole foods, plant-based, and that means fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, whole grains, lentils, beans, tofu. That would be a great start.
Okay.
I haven't removed all of your meat from you, but
That wasn't in the list.
it's not in my list. But that's really where you want to go. And then if you want to take it another
No
level,
lamb chops?
what's that?
No lamb chops?
But that goes in that less than 5% of meat. But if you want to take it another level, then the recommendation from a major gut microbiome study is to have at least a variety of 30 different plant foods a week. So now some people are
30?
like, yeah. So some people just literally eat the same thing. I'm having
I
carrots this
totally eat the
week.
same thing. It's like carrots, broccoli,
Yeah.
tomato,
And most people
probably on
do. So
rotation with onion.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's pretty common. And this is where, you can do it for so long and then the diseases start hitting you, because it comes back to feeding the microbiome. It's like we're not just feeding ourselves, we're feeding these good gut bacteria. And so just to give you another interesting thing, many people don't realize that their gut bacteria influence their mood. Their gut bacteria influence their energy levels, their brain fog, their emotions, like their ability to handle difficult situations.
Mm.
Um, so if you don't have that strength in your gut microbiome, like, and I've kind of seen this from like working in the hospital, like, working with my colleagues and stuff. And, we're all sitting and eating lunch together. And the
Yeah.
ones that always have short fuses, like if they get more work or something like that, are the ones that just have no patience and what they ate for lunch versus um, somebody who ate a more healthier meal and how they manage their emotions. So
Hmm.
I think that's another thing that people just don't really think, because the thing is, our meals, along with other lifestyle factors, literally change our cells, which then change our stress levels. So there's so much to it.
It's kind of funny. I'm just kind of like a bit
You're
amused.
thinking about yourself?
Thinking about someone that's yelling. It's like, did you just have fried chicken?
Well, so it's kind of
The tofu
interesting
person is
because,
very calm.
well, I don't know how you feel about road rage, but road rage is a real thing in the US,
Yeah, we have
right?
road rage. Sydney definitely has road rage. We're mostly road ragey.
Yeah,
City,
and
city.
so and we have pretty high speed limits here on the highway here, like 70, 80 it's miles per hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but a pretty high. And it's just amazing to see how much rage comes out of a person to get to the next traffic light, which then the traffic light honestly does turn red on them anyway.
Yeah,
And
just
then
stop.
they're
You
sitting
didn't really
next to
save
you.
time. Yeah.
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 And then you get there at the same time and you're watching them and you can see their face like just like turning red and they're getting
Yes.
fidgety and anxious. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this person just turned on a gene, which is going to create this, and then they're going to have this response in their body, and then their cells are going to do this. And it all comes back to stress. Right. So, and it's not, most people think of mental stress. It's actually cellular stress or oxidative stress. It's a stress on the cells that then create the disease, which is why I work so hard to protect my peace. I'm like, no, my cells aren't going to do anything bad because I know so much about it. I'm like, okay, how do I protect my cells? What am I going to do?
Okay. So
And
how do
one
we
of the things
protect
that's the
that?
easiest for
Yeah.
me was the food.
Okay.
Right? Because like we're working our outer layers, like our
Yeah.
outer layer of our body sheath, as you can call it. We call it the kosha system in Ayurveda, but the outer layer is really that what you eat, how you move, how you sleep. And most people never even reach that deep, like blissful mental state because they're so fixated on the outside because they can't get past that.
This is intriguing. I would say I definitely had the most clarity, like so clear. Like I'm like, oh my God, I can think this clear, like straight after Vipassana. And that's would be probably like I mean it I associated it with the meditation itself, but who knows? It could just be because I ate plant-based diet for 10 days.
Well, I think it's a combination, right? Because if you think about it, the plant-based food would have supported your gut to kind of not create more inflammation, not create more stress. Then on top of that, you're adding the meditation, and the meditation is also creating a relaxation response. So now when the body is relaxed, the brain is clear. When the body is stressed out, like you ever have a fight with somebody and it's like you can just be screaming and it's like nobody can hear each other because they're just screaming and no problems ever get solved that way. All right. So when our body is in a more relaxed state, we can think more clearly. We can make better decisions. We don't do like crazy Black Friday shopping. Like here in the States, we just had that and it was kind of craziness to watch.
Yeah. Okay. How does eating well help us with our purpose?
Yeah.
Because
So
most people are
eating,
just thinking about purpose being like, okay, I'm creating my North Star, my vision, whatever I'm going towards. And they could work as a machine, actually, like the hustle culture to get there.
Mhm.
Okay, explain.
All right. So I'm going to explain this from a kind of another biochemical pathway that people might not know. So, um, and these are kind of longevity pathways that are the people are really talking about. So I think it's important to talk about. We have certain enzymes or compounds inside our cells. One of those is called AMPK. Don't need to know what it translates to. It's basically one of the longevity pathways. And AMPK basically can detect if your cell's energy is low. Okay. Like think of it like a low battery detector in a way. So there's a compound in here, an enzyme inside the cells. When the cells don't get enough of what they need, nutrients, it basically says, hey, we have run out of energy. The battery's low. And often what I do is actually, this is another thing I wrote in my book. I compared the human cell to our cell phones and how we can plug these in and like all the different things that happen in our cell phone. It's very similar here. Except we can replace this every year. This we can't. We can only take care of. So when your cells feel low energy, this enzyme, AMPK, basically turns on and says, hey, we need more energy. We need more fuel. We need to reduce inflammation. We need all these things. Food plays a part in this because the food you eat will either turn on that AMPK pathway or it will turn on a different pathway. And that different pathway is called mTOR. Now, mTOR also lives inside here, inside our cells. And mTOR is not the low energy pathway, it's the pathway of build, 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 right? which in the right amounts works great. But when the body is only building, building, building and not repairing, it doesn't work so good. So your food, if you eat high sugar food, way too much protein, way too much processed food, it's turning on that mTOR pathway, which is saying build, build, build. But at some point, the body builds and builds. And what is a cancer or a tumor? It's uncontrolled growth of building because there was no
Yeah,
rest
it's
for
an
the body
overgrowth.
to turn off those pathways.
Mm.
And so what we kind of see is that with these lifetimes of people living in stress, people living in burnout, people living in all these states, that there's this cellular thing that's happening in the background that
Mm.
people really don't have any idea. And I wish, like, when they understand it, they'll go, all right, I need to change this because this will eventually change this. Why this happens is purpose kind of links back to having these two systems, the AMPK and the mTOR, living in balance. One's
Mm.
not doing too much and one's not doing too little. So, and without this balance, this is when people are getting that, like, burnout. They're getting that weight gain. That's another one around the 40s. Women are complaining about weight gain. They're getting the inflammation. They're getting the brain fog, all these symptoms that we kind of see, but they're also accelerating how they age inside. Right.
Mhm.
So, purpose, when you are aligned with what you're doing every day and you actually love the work you do, and you wake up every day and you're like, yeah, I get to do this,
Yeah.
you're shifting your cells from a stress state and from that reactive state to a repair state. So that's where purpose comes back in.
Mm. Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. If people want to be
Okay,
more,
it's,
if people want
you're
to be
thinking
more,
something, tell me.
yeah, if people want to be more youthful, is there a particular food they should eat? The youthful appearance.
If people want to be more youthful, then what?
Well, is there particular food they should consume, like that has more collagen or whatever?
um There is not one food that is going to change, like one superfood that will change everything. And
Mm.
that's where it kind of comes back to that variety of 30 different plants a week.
Why does it have to be a variety?
Because the microbiome loves variety. So
Oh,
there
okay.
are compounds inside of all of our foods. And what
Yeah.
I usually say, the easiest way to get started is when you look at your plate, what color is your plate? Is it mostly browns and whites and yellows?
Mm.
Um, I always recommend having Roy G. Biv, which is your rainbow of food. So red, orange, green, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. Um, I know my salads always have that. Like, I'll just have layer. Like, I should actually go pull out my salad and show you right now.
Please,
But
please do.
you,
Can, can, can...
you want me to?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay, all right. I'll grab it for you. 1 second.
While she's doing that, I'm thinking about my shopping list. It's like, what am I putting in my grocery list? I'm like, is canned food allowed? Or is it like not fresh enough? Oh, there she is.
All
She's
right.
coming back.
So, like, here's an example, right? So this is like one of my, like, jar
That's very
salads,
smart.
right?
I've never thought of putting it in a jar. Okay, so you've got, what do you have in
Well,
there?
I'm
Chickpeas?
super busy, so this is a lot of prep work, like on prep day, and then you just like make these kind of jars of it. But like, so the red in here is going to be, I have red radishes in here. Roy red, Roy orange. Orange is the carrots.
Great. That's a staple I have.
Yellow is
Corn?
I need to add something yellow still.
Yeah, we can buy
Uh,
corn. That's easy.
yeah,
Can
I
we
can
buy
add
canned
corn.
corn or does it have to be fresh?
It depends what it's soaked in. I usually do organic frozen corn.
Organic frozen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's available. I'll have a look.
Yeah, in the frozen section. Yeah. Because the canned corn is sometimes, like, the liquid they put it in has like weird stuff in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So go for the frozen corn.
Yeah, go for
All
the
right.
frozen.
Okay.
So where was I going? Red, orange, yellow.
Green.
Green is
The
cucumber
lettuce.
and lettuce. Uh,
Cucumber. Not a fan. But there's a lot
Blue,
of greens. I can put something else.
there's so many greens, you can pick anything. Blue, I usually add wild blueberries to the top of
I
this, like
actually eat that. I have
yeah,
that.
when I serve it. Purple,
Okay.
I've got purple cabbage. And then I've got like, I don't know, like a bunch of chickpeas down here. So
Mhm.
when I eat this, I will like dump this out onto a plate.
Same question about chickpeas. Where do chickpeas come from? I only see them in a can.
Why do you see chickpeas in a can?
I only buy chickpeas in a can. I only see them in a can. Where do you buy? Where else? What do you, where? How do chickpeas even look like normally? Can you buy them?
Well, they're a
You
little
know?
bit harder. They're like actually kind of half the size of a chickpea like this. They're like really hard and you have to like soak them and cook
Oh,
them.
you dehydrate, like they
Yeah,
dehydrate and then oh,
yeah,
they come in
they're
a
a little
like a
bit
dry
different.
like a packet and then you rehydrate them.
Well, you cook them, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so all beans are probably easier to get from a can if you can get them that way. But then here's the thing. So this is like one salad, and then the variety of that would be, all right, the next time I'm going to make it with a different bean and a different green and a different, you know. So
Where do quinoas come from? So can you just buy them
quinoa.
fresh or quinoa?
Quinoa is a grain. It's actually a complete protein. So quinoa is a grain.
Do they come like rice? Like can
Yeah,
you?
they do actually. Yeah.
Oh.
They'll be in this probably the same section as rice. You can get quinoa, amarnath. Oh my God, have I just enlightened you to the food world?
I've never really thought about it, I guess. I see them in like,
Because all we do
some
is go out
fancy
to eat.
cafe when I'm ordering a salad, they're like sprinkle in there, but I'm like, I've never considered it on my shopping list, like my grocery shopping list. Let me go to the shelf and like find these dry quinoa, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like that's where, you know, when I said 30 different plant foods, you looked at me and I'm like, it's actually not that difficult if you just start eating like the real food. And then I question what we do eat because half the time we're not really eating real food. We're eating like, you know, whatever process. And you had asked me a little bit earlier why I don't recommend eating out so much.
Mm,
It is a lot of the foods that are cooked in restaurants, and it depends on the restaurant, but the oils that they use
yeah.
are inflammatory.
Mm,
And you can't really control that when you go out to a
yeah.
restaurant because I mean, I've worked in culinary medicine, I've worked in a
Yeah.
kitchen where it's like we just put salt, oil, and sugar on everything because the goal of a restaurant is to make the food taste so good so you come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. I think a lot of people's got to rethink their diet or what they're putting into their mouth from this conversation.
Well, you know, baby steps. It's not an overnight thing, and I don't recommend an overnight thing. But I do recommend, like, I went from eating everything to being pescatarian to being vegetarian to then being vegan, right? So it was a process, slowly stripping away as I kept learning more and more, and then going, all right, this is, you know.
Talk to me quickly about the energy part when I mentioned meat, like killing animals.
So this is
I know this might go into more a spiritual woo-woo
this
thing,
is
and
more
that's not for everyone, but
spiritual,
let's
right?
touch on it.
So culturally, generally we believe in a process called ahimsa.
Hmm.
And ahimsa means nonviolence. And that means nonviolence not just to humans, but to all beings, and really seeing all beings as like, you know, creatures of the earth, right? Um, So you will see like around like India, like that there will just be like cows. Cows are seen as a very sacred animal and they'll just be wandering around, you know, and nobody says anything to them.
Hmm.
Not, and most of India is actually vegetarian. It was only when all of these fast food restaurants started coming in that they started putting all these like meat dishes and stuff there. The McDonald's in India
Hmm.
is actually vegetarian. Like you can get like different like potato burger because you won't see beef there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So so I think it's more about like nonviolence. And if we think about how energy is contagious. Like, let's bring it back to like if you're hanging out with a bunch of friends and like one is super negative Nancy and she just brings the whole group down, and then everybody all of a sudden is just complaining, and that's what like the whole environment turns into, right?
Mhm.
That was a very easy transfer of energy. Like the
Yeah.
state changed, right?
Mm.
Same thing, like if we're in an environment where we're uplifted and everybody's very supportive of each other, then all of a sudden your energy is like, oh man, I can do this too, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about what happens to an animal that is produced for food,
Mm.
right? First of all, most animals do not see daylight. They don't experience any love from, their mother. They're like totally taken away from that. So now, if you think of that and relate that to a child, right? And your
Mm.
child has been taken away and didn't get to feed off the mother, didn't get the milk of the mother. Like that's what happens with cows,
Basically
right?
kidnapped and tortured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just physically, they're mentally tortured, right? Because now they're living in isolation in these like dark places that have basically been
Yeah, cage,
built for this,
refined.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
now their cells internally in their body are like super stressed out cells because they're like, I've never had light, I've never had good food, I've just been
Yeah.
eating this processed stuff, I've always been stressed, right? So now these cells that are in their body, and then what do? We take them out to slaughter. We kill them in this some of the most inhumane ways that I've seen.
Yeah.
And now we're taking that meat and we're putting that energy of that animal into our body.
Mm.
Energy never disappears, it transfers.
No, that
It
makes sense.
absolutely transfers. And nobody wants to talk about this and nobody really writes about it. Nobody's going to pay for research on it. But if you see it like, and you actually start paying attention, when you meet plant-based people, they're usually the most calmest, nicest people energetically. Like, I mean, I got to find a crazy vegan. I'm sure there's one out there, but most of the time they are definitely a little bit more on the calm and present side.
Mm.
Um, Whereas somebody who all they eat is meat can be a little bit more agitated, a little bit more anxious. And I know this from a microbiome perspective
Mm.
because I have individuals who have been meat eaters their whole life. They're not going to give it up. Their microbiome shows me how inflamed they are.
Yeah.
And that inflammation cascade creates a mental health cascade because then they have anxiety and depression. For men, I see a lot of ED, so erectile dysfunction in like their
Mm.
30s and 40s, low testosterone. Um, and then a whole host of things. So, because the microbiome actually changes if you're a meat eater versus a
Mm.
plant-based eater into that inflammatory state. So, there's that, yes, spiritual, energetic thing, but there's also the science of you're changing your microbiome, and the microbiome will influence your mood. It'll influence the way you live your life.
Yeah. It could be coincidental or not, but yeah, I guess the
No,
listeners can
I think
think
from
of
the
it from,
microbiome
I mean,
perspective, it's not.
yeah, like from your view, obviously it's not, but like I mean, people that's listening to this is like just think of it in your own life. Like if I'm thinking about in my own life, there are times when I've been the most stressed. I also did eat the most meat. Um, so yeah, that's food for thoughts.
Can you say that one more time?
Like when I was the most stressed, I also ate the most meat. Like that was when I was like in my more meat eater phase.
Yeah, but the question was the meat contributing to your
Yeah,
stress, or were
that's
you
what I
stressed?
wouldn't know. But that's
Yeah,
why I was like question mark, right? Like so it's like look in your own life and just verify for yourself. It's like
yeah,
you could believe in this, from a medical cellular level perspective or not kind of thing. Even though science would prove it. But like I think, yeah, a more evidential thing for personally, it's like to actually just verify in your own life. And that
yeah.
would be true in my life. Like now, yeah, I have a much more balanced diet compared to before. Obviously, still not the optimal balanced diet. Like,
You
yeah,
will after this
I
interview.
will after this. We'll see. We'll have another conversation a couple of years later and see where that goes. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Thank you so much for being on the show. And if
yeah.
people want to find you, find out more, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest place is my website, drbhanote.com. So DRBHANOTE.com. All my social media, whether that's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, is Dr. Banote, Pinterest. Plenty of plant-based recipes. You won't miss the meat, I promise you. Um, and then I do recommend people sign up for my newsletter. We can obviously share that. I think that's a good way to kind of start learning because I think like my clients start speaking in that language of cells. Like they wake up and they're like, "Oh, my cells need this today. I need to, eat this, or I need to move my body because," and
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. And then the last thing is to get started. I would say pick up a copy of my book, The Anatomy of Well-Being. Intentional practices to embrace your body's unique design and revitalize your health. So that will be a good way to kind of get started in the process from the physical, mental, emotional, nutritional. Super easy to read because I built it into your daily practices or rituals.
Amazing. Thank you.
Excel in life, live your purpose, be free.